So the Rose Cup is the competitive format in the Silph Arena for Pokemon Go in the month of February. Now, unlike previous cups, this cup is based off of the Pokemon's color rather than their individual type. So in a way, this is kind of like Ferocious Cup. Good news though, the picks here are actually a lot more kind than Ferocious Cup were. If you do want more specific information on which Pokemon are eligible for this particular cup, I highly recommend checking out the silph.gg, link in the description. So you can see here we already have a meta simplified graphic from the Lorman96 from the Game Press team, but this video is not a meta simplified video. No, I decided to double down my efforts on answering one simple question. When it comes to your best buddy, your level 41 Pokemon, which one do you want it to be? Medicham or Sableye? Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Pokemon Go recently updated their buddy feature, and you can gain different tiers of buddy with your buddy Pokemon. Now, if you do get to the max buddy, the best buddy level, you get a special little stamp on your Pokemon, and that stamp is the equivalent of 2 power-ups, which allows a level 40 Pokemon to become effectively a level 41 Pokemon. Now, when it comes to Medicham and Sableye, these 2 Pokemon, when they're at level 40, aren't at 1500 CP. This means they could gain a couple more power-ups here, right? Which you get from the best buddy. But only one of them can be your best buddy at a time. The moment you swap buddies, they lose the stamp and the other buddy is now your buddy. That guy's not your buddy. They revert to their original pre-best buddy stats until you make them your buddy again, right? So you can only have one. So which one will it be? Before we dive into this any further, both of these Pokemon are good for the Rose Cup, but it's hard to say if either of them are mandatory. So if your Rose Cup strategy already only uses one over the other, well then the choice is pretty dang clear, right? But if you are on the fence, you're not too sure, or if you're just curious, you want to know the answer anyways, well, let's get into it. Self-promotion time here. I do want to go to the Portland, Oregon Mega Cup that is happening on the 8th. Now, to get there, I have to fly there, and I also want to bring my videographer friend to, film the event, vlog a little bit, get my battles in, and yeah, but to do that, that costs money, right? So if you could donate to my PayPal, that's paypal.me/RyanSwag, to help ease the burden of this trip, that would be greatly appreciated. So when it comes to the base stats here, on the left, we have a level 40 Medicham, and on the right, we have a level 41 Medicham. You can see the attack stat is 107.4, changing to 108.1. We got a defense of 131.9 to a defense stat of 132.8. And then we got a stamina of 134 to 135. So as far as stat gains go, Medicham is netting 2.6 stats. Now that is extremely slight, but these slight differences can matter. And at the end of the day, only one Pokemon can get this slight bonus. And if there's a bonus to be had, you may as well take it, right? Then when it comes to the Sableye side of the force, we're going from 123.2 attack to 124, 119.3 defense to 120, and then the stamina does not change. We go from 120 to just 120. So the overall stat change here is 1.5. So at a base, just looking at the stats, it does appear like Medicham has slightly more to gain than Sableye does. In fact, it's actually getting one whole extra stamina rather than getting a whole big nothing for the stamina, which can be pretty significant in these battles that can end up on 1 HP and you get off the charge move and you win, or you didn't live by 1 HP and you lost. But stats aside, anybody that's hardcore into PvP already knows that this is just fluff. We need to know if there are breakpoints. Are these slight changes flipping any matchups? So I decided to take some time to run a whole bunch of numbers and see if there were any significant changes in their matchup data. And what I found was Sableye is having the most significant changes. Now the Pokemon I'm practicing against are using their rank 1 stat products, so the most perfect Great League IVs, which of course can change things. And then as far as Medicham is concerned, I had to play around with the moveset a whole bunch because Medicham's got so many different charge moves going for it to see if any of them were significant. And yeah, going through this small list of Pokemon here, I found that Medicham was getting no breakpoints. And as far as the significance of Medicham's matchups go, yeah, no real changes. Now, in the one shield scenario, Medicham can beat a level 40 Medicham now with like 1, I think, remaining HP. And if attack-based CMP gets implemented in the game, you will win the CMP ties against the opposing Medicham. But aside from that, Nothing really happens. Like, I found a couple really weird niche, like you have to have prior energy and the shield scenario has to be super uneven, and yeah, no, Medicham just does not have it going on. Now, as far as the Sableye side of the force goes, yes, we are getting breakpoints, we are getting bulk points, and these changes are pretty significant for Sableye. So starting out in the Medicham matchup, we get an attack breakpoint. Now, Sableye is already winning the Medicham matchup regardless, but in the 0-2 shield scenario, so you're just straight farming the Medicham, not caring about it, you end up with 34 HP instead of 20. Now, this change in HP could be significant, or it could be nothing. At any rate, it does make your Medicham matchup that much more consistent. Then when it comes to the Sableye mirror, if you're up against level 40 Sableye, you'll get CMP if attack-based CMP ends up being a thing. If you don't know what CMP is, by the way, that's charge move priority. Right now, if you and your opponent use a charge move at the same time, it's a 50-50 chance on who gets to launch it first. There was an announcement that eventually Pokemon Go is going to be implementing charge move priority that's based off the attack stat. That is currently not in the game, but this is a little prep for the future. Could get implemented at any time, so it's good to just keep in the back of your mind for this kind of stuff. Moving on, we do have a bulk point, kind of, against Skarmory. You can win the 2-2 shield scenario by 1 HP. Now this is because Foul Play does 1 extra damage to Skarmory. However, the thing I want to know about this is it's not very significant. Like, the ones I have bolded are significant. This isn't bolded. And the reason why is because if Skarmory has slightly higher HP than the rank 1 Skarmory does, well, then you don't get that benefit. And if the Skarmory is like any less than the rank 1 is, well, then the level 40 already wins the 2 shield scenario. So it's like, it potentiates you having a more consistent 2-2 shield scenario against Skarmory, but it's definitely not the whole enchilada, so yeah, a little awkward there. Speaking of insignificant changes, against a rank 1 Wigglytuff, you'll faint in 7 charms instead of 6, but then once again, this is against the rank 1 Wigglytuff. A lot of Wigglytuffs have higher attack stats than the rank 1 does, so it's like, does this really matter? And then as far as fainting in 7 instead of 6, I mean, the benefit of that is also pretty nebulous, because if you're fainting in 7 in a matchup that Wigglytuff is already dominating, then you're kind of giving even more energy to the Wigglytuff to use against your next Pokemon. But I guess another side of the fence, you could have that extra time to launch another charge move, but not that big of a deal, and probably more nebulous than what the rank 1 suggests. Nothing changing with these other two. Probopass has a weird, complicated scenario that's in the 1-1 situation that's based off of Foul Play doing 1 extra damage again, but it's even more convoluted than the Skarmory thing, so it's to the point where I wouldn't even worry about it. And then we get to the big change, the one that's actually kind of significant. I even had to write notes about it because it gets a little convoluted, and that is against Gliscor. Sableye will get an attack breakpoint against Gliscor. So what does that do for Sableye? So here we got the level 41 Sableye, and then we've got Gliscor, the rank 1 Gliscor, so low attack, high defense and HP. And you can see in the basic situation, Gliscor wins, right? It's able to bait you with the Night Slash, and it lands the Earthquake. But as you know, not all battles end up this way, right? So let's say Gliscor was just using Night Slash. Let's say it failed the bait, so it had to use another Night Slash. If Gliscor goes Night Slash only, you end up winning that by 1 HP. Now this does look pretty slight here, but you can see that after your charge move, they're at 11 HP, and then they're at 1 HP before it starts to matter, right? And your Shadow Claw damage will be able to take them out if they end up having slightly higher HP than expected. Of course, if they do get the Night Slash attack boost, it's probably going to be all over for you. But chances are they won't, and yeah, that helps out. And then if you consider the straight Earthquake scenario, they tried to throw an Earthquake, you shielded it, well, guess what happens to them? They don't reach the second Earthquake. Now, if you were to be a level 40, for example, whammo, blammo, slammo, they reach the second Earthquake. So that is pretty dang significant there. They'll still beat you on the bait, but now you have the chance to overtake them if the bait doesn't go according to plan. Now going back to level 41, let's check out the wing attack variant. Right now, I don't know which Gliscor is the best Gliscor, so let's see what Wing Attack does. Well, in the one shield situation, with the bait, you can see that Gliscor wins by just 1 HP. Now that is just 1 HP. This is the rank 1 Gliscor, so chances are a Gliscor you meet in the field will be slightly less perfect than this one, which suggests that you'll be able to overtake this matchup, which is pretty huge. You'd be left with like 59 HP, which is pretty nice. So I'd say this is a W. On the converse, if you were to be the level 40, they survive with like 15 HP, and a bad ranked Gliscor, that's not really going to flip it. So yeah, I'd say level 41, pretty significant there. Then when it comes to the just straight Night Slash variant, they can't reach the third Night Slash. They're so close. They're almost there, but they just don't get it. They don't reach the third Night Slash. And then when it comes to the straight Earthquake, they don't reach the second Earthquake, but spoiler alert here, if you were to be a level 40 version, well, they weren't going to reach the second Earthquake anyways, so a little bit nebulous there. But when it comes to those other situations, the level 41 seems to pay off pretty well in the Gliscor matchup. Is Gliscor going to be huge in the Rose Cup? I can't tell you for sure right now, but if it does end up being big, well then Sableye is getting big on it. And if you are curious about the 2 shield situation, Sableye should be winning those anyways, and then when it comes to the no shield situation, well, there's nothing standing between you and that Earthquake, is there? So watch out. Now you might be wondering, does a 14 attack IV get it at level 41? No, they do not. However, this is against a rank 1 Gliscor, so if the Gliscor is deficient in defense, well then the 14 attack IV will have the opportunity to get it. So I'd say if you have a like 13, 14 attack IV Sableye already prepped, I think you'll probably still get it against the Gliscor. So is this conclusive evidence that you should best buddy your Sableye instead of your Medicham for the Rose Cup? Not exactly. I mean, it seems like the prime benefits for Sableye come in against the Gliscor matchup, and we don't even know how popular Gliscor is going to be right now. That said, if you do have a Sableye already prepped, it might be a good idea to swap it over to your buddy and try to best buddy it before this cup, just in case Gliscor becomes big. Now, alternatively, you can also use the best buddy feature to fix IVs on your Pokemon as well. So if your Medicham or your Sableye are deficient in IVs and you want to bring them up to snuff like all the other Medichams and Sableyes out there, that is another option, a way that you could patch your Pokemon up. At the end of the day, it does seem like Medicham is getting the more solid benefits too. It is getting the for sure proof in the pudding 1 HP stat. So in those extreme situations, which aren't captured by this very limited and simplified study, Medicham could be getting some more benefits there than what we can see. On the other hand, Sableye has more neutral matchups than Medicham does, and a more neutral Pokemon benefits more from having bigger stats. So at the end of the day, it is pretty nebulous, but if you need to be swayed one way or the other, well, I hope this data helped you out a bit. I also want to throw out that these aren't the only Pokemon that you can best buddy for this particular cup. Wormadam, for example, has a different ideal set of IVs that you could have for level 41. But I'd say when it comes to Wormadam, it is even more niche than what these guys are. Like, the gain is like microscopic. Then there's also Grimer, just straight up Grimer. Grimer is a poison type Pokemon with Mud Slap and Mud Bomb, which is pretty good, right? It can have its place. And then there's also Yanma. Yanma could also be an option for Best Buddy. These two Pokemon cap well before 1500, so they'd get some straight benefits from it. When it comes to those two, though, they are pretty niche, and if you're already using them, you may as well Best Buddy them anyways. You know, go all in. But I can't say if they're great for this particular meta or not. Which Pokemon are you going to Best Buddy for the Rose Cup? Are you going to go for the straight bigger stat gains on the Medicham, or are you going to gain the slight niche advantages against, like, specifically the rank 1 Gliscor on your Sableye? If you got any questions on this content, comment below, let me know what's up. And if you like this content, you want to see more like it, maybe you want to see my Rose Cup Simplified guide, well, make sure to subscribe to SwagTips. And once again, if you want to help the Swagman, go to Portland, Oregon for the Omega Rose Cup. Well, check out my PayPal, link in the description. Much appreciated.